Hey, it's Deuce and Mo. Time for a rapid fire recap. We go long form with our night chats. You could check that out, of course, but we are doing a quick recap for those who don't want to enjoy a 90-minute podcast. Kings lose in Milwaukee, a heartbreaker, 143-142 in overtime. Dame Lillard with the game winner, a three-pointer at the buzzer. And Morgan, it's going to haunt the Kings a little bit. Missed free throws, bad defense in the final 18 seconds. Just crushed the Kings in this game, a game they should have had when they were up 141-137.
Yeah, I mean, really the way that they started this game, they started looking a lot more like the old Kings. When I say the old Kings, the Kings that were playing last year. You had contributions from your entire starting lineup, shorter rotations from Mike Brown before, by the way, and I know we'll get to this, before he was ejected in this one. So he was fiery in this one. I felt like the energy was a little bit different from all these guys tonight headed into Milwaukee.
I think what you said is exactly right. It felt like last year's Kings team a little bit. They were playing loose. They were playing competitive. And I thought they went toe-to-toe with the Bucks tonight. But you have to execute down the stretch. Malik Monk, who's been the Kings' best free throw shooter, an 87% free throw shooter, goes 0 for 2. Then Lopez hits a corner three, and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game. Then De'Aaron hits 1 of 2, 5 seconds to go. De'Aaron elects to defend Giannis, try to recover. Dame gets a great look from 3, buried it, a clutch shot, little Dame time action. That's going to hurt you a little bit. But big picture-wise, the Kings have been struggling so much in losses.
Yep.
I mean, we looked at their losses coming into tonight. They're losing by an average of like 16.7 points per game. They have not been competitive. It's been beyond disappointing. Tonight, they showed a lot more competitiveness, and there were guys that stepped up in a big way, especially with Keegan Murray going down. He didn't play in the second half. He left the game with hip irritation after he went on this dunk attempt on Brook Lopez and hit the ground hard. I love the fact that Red Velvet Kevin Huerter showed up. We have not seen him in a while. You know, him looking like that. He had 26 points, but he also had 10 rebounds.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a 20-point game since late November.
Ooh.
So it was nice to see him not only go off, but go off efficiently and throughout this entire game. And like you mentioned, with those 10 rebounds, I felt that contributed to his confidence on the offensive end of the floor. So him having the 26, 10 rebound, 3 assist game, it was just nice to see him find his flow again. And look, the Sacramento Kings needed it for him, not only because Keegan Murray went down. I felt like it was starting to really add on from the beginning for Keegan Huerter. It wasn't like, oh, because someone's down, now it's my turn to step up. No, he was moving without the basketball. Domas was finding him, and Domas is another guy that was doing some wild things out there tonight.
It's funny you called him Keegan Huerter just now.
Did I really?
Yeah. Anyway,
Keegan Huerter.
I'm glad you said Sabonis, too. Another triple-double. His 7th triple-double in the last 13 games. He's got 10 triple-doubles this year. He had 21 points, 15 assists, 13 rebounds. The numbers are great. 9 of 10 shooting. If anything, you're like, can you shoot a little more because you're so effective? I love the fact that he played aggressive offensively. He went at Brook Lopez. But at the start of the game, Mike Brown had him defending Giannis. In previous matchups against the Bucks, we've seen Harrison Barnes take that matchup. We know how difficult of a challenge it is defending Giannis. I thought he did his best in those minutes when those two were matched up one-on-one. He played physical. He made sure to defend without fouling. The guy played a tough game. It was a hell of a game.
He was moving his feet, and it was so great where he was positioning himself on the defensive end. He was making sure that Giannis wasn't going to have a clear path to just go downhill and get what he wanted every single possession down. He had himself just stay strong, more toward the middle of the key, being like, you can shoot that jumper, but you're going to have a hard time and you're going to have to work for it in here. And that's exactly what started to happen for Giannis, who finished the game with 27 points. But going back to the triple-double that Domas Sabonis had, he had 8 of his 15 assists in just the first quarter. So he was dropping dimes left and right from the start, looking a lot like himself, initiating the offense. And then how many times do you see guys looking for him as the outlet to push and be that 0.5? They're not even even looking for De'Aaron at times. They're just going, all right, Domas, you're the guy to go to. Let's go push it down the floor. Just another strong physical performance from Domas.
De'Aaron Fox had 32 points in this game, hit 4 of his first 5, then went cold, and then got it going a little bit late. Malik Monk with some big shots, too. He had 28 points and 7 assists. He had some big moments in the fourth quarter. He and Herter combined for 21 points in the fourth quarter. So it's good to see those things go well for Sacramento. Mike Brown went with a shorter rotation, played 8 guys. He ended up going 9 deep once Keegan left the game. We saw a little Sasha for a few minutes, but I like that he kind of stuck with a group tonight. The group played well. We also saw a lineup that we had not seen before. This big lineup where Sabonis was at the 4. Yeah, at one point in the first quarter, we saw Malik Monk at the point guard, Keegan Murray at the 2, Trey Lyles played some 3, and then you had Sabonis at the 4, Len at the 5. Just a different look. The Kings need some more size. It's something on their roster that it's probably one of their weaknesses, and they tried something different against a Bucks team who plays with physicality and has some good size.
Yeah, I thought this lineup, especially against this matchup, was really smart that the Kings went to this. Alex Len just stepping in there in his 11 minutes, finished with 4 points and 5 rebounds, but truly his presence was just felt all throughout. The way that he was running from rim to rim, I feel like he's been bringing a different type of energy, especially as that backup big, but obviously in this lineup or in this rotation specifically, it was more like, hey, he was the 5 out there. Domas was out there as well. Just having those big bodies was like, okay, this is something the Kings can do when they go up against some bigger teams.
When you look back at this game, what hurts you more, Morgan? Is it the missed free throws from Monk and Fox, or is it that final defensive possession that allowed Dame to get enough space to get downhill and get a 3-point attempt off?
It's the final defensive possession, and the only reason why I say that is because Dame, part of his identity as a player in this league is that moment, that shot, Dame time. I'm only annoyed because it was against the Kings. If this was against a different team, I'd be like, oh, Dame time. What a shot. What a moment. But no, tonight against the Sacramento Kings, it was frustrating to see that the Kings didn't ultimately have a game plan to be like, all right, if Dame gets the ball, you blitz him. You wanted to see Domas come up a little bit more. He kept backing down as he thought maybe Brook Lopez or Giannis was going to be able to get to the basket with the 2.7 seconds left as Dame was crossing that half court line. That wasn't the case. De'Aaron got crossed up a little bit right there. Dame created that space for himself. And yeah, it was tough to see.
Another big angle after this game was the fact that Mike Brown got ejected in the fourth quarter. He was red hot. He felt campaign hooked De'Aaron Fox, no call. The replay showed he was right. And Brown lost his mind. He went on the court and was going at the official. He was ejected. And after the technical free throws, the Kings were down a dozen in the fourth quarter. They fought back. It felt like they played with a little bit of an edge. I was happy to see Mike Brown show that type of fire. We had not seen that a lot from him this year. It was good to have his guys back. And he was irritated by the foul discrepancy in this game. And I felt like his team responded in a big way to come back from a dozen, force overtime, ultimately losing. But then after the game, we saw something that we haven't seen. We saw, one, Mike Brown lose his mind in a way that was crazy. But then after the game, he takes the podium. He's talking about what went wrong, including the missed free throws and the defense on Dame at the end. But he also busted out a laptop and showed some missed calls.
Dip, let me see that, man. I just want to show you guys why I got kicked out of the game right here. This is in the this is in the third quarter with 1:28 left to go in the third. And right here, you can watch. Go back and watch. Fox barely puts his hand on Dame's hip. Okay, incidental contact. He didn't push him or anything. He barely puts his hand on there, and they give him 3 free throws. Now, at half, we were down, I think, 19-5 in the free throws. 19-5. And I know that happens sometimes, but that's very frustrating when at the end of the half, from what I get told all the time, Malik drives, Lopez comes over and goes vertical with a forearm down here. Now, from what the NBA tells me, the rule is if you go vertical, you got to have 2 hands up. Because Domas has his hand down here a lot, and they call him for it every time, and they always tell us, well, you got a forearm here. And they said that Tonight, they said forearm could be here as long as it's not extended. So I don't know what the rules are in this situation. I need a clarification because, again, 2 hands up is what the rule is on verticality, but they were here and they said Lopez could do this. That's a 5-point swing. They take away the 2 free throws, and then Milwaukee goes down and hits a 3. And to end the half at 19-5, that's tough to deal with, especially when you're getting told different interpretations on a rule, okay? So now I go back, they call this foul again on Fox. Now, again, he didn't push him. They said it's supposed to be incidental contact. They give him 3 free throws. Now, watch this, right here. Fox comes off a pick and roll. The kid, Campaign hooks him, hooks his arm. Look at Fox's arm when he spins off of this. Hooks his arm. He almost falls. No incidental contact. He hooks his arm and almost falls, and there's no foul. And so to me, as a coach, I'm okay with, look again, boom, he almost falls. And that's at the fourth quarter at the 9:32 mark. I'm okay as a coach because the referees are human and they're going to make mistakes. But you just hope, A, there's some sort of consistency. B, there's some sort of communication between the refs. And the refs tonight, they were great. They communicated with me all night. But in terms of the consistency, you guys saw it right here. Dame coming off the pick and roll and Foxy getting hooked and almost falling coming off the pick and roll. And then on top of that, if you get communication and you get some form of consistency in the game, okay, then you can live with some things. You can live with it. But the consistency that I see tonight wasn't in my opinion there. And then I don't understand the rule. If the rule is you got to go vertical and both hands up, how can you take away 2 free throws when the guy got his forearm down here? Now, if they're going to change the rule on me and say, okay, the forearm can be down here and the other one can be up there, all right, then now I know it going forward. But that's not what the rule is, because we get it called on Domas all the time, and they tell us he's got to have both hands up if you want to go vertical. That's why I got kicked out.
Morgan, I don't think I've ever seen a coach go, all right, let's bust out a laptop. The guy got ejected and probably had some video guys put this all together. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the foul discrepancy he brought up? 19 free throws to 5 free throws in the first half of this game. The Bucks end up shooting 32 free throws. The Kings shot 20. Sometimes this stuff is overblown because guys like Giannis and Dame get calls. But I felt like there were some consistency issues in this game.
That was it. Control what you can control if you're the Sacramento Kings. And this is sometimes going to happen when there's stars playing in some of these games. Like, there's going to be biases. We already know all those things. But it felt like the other moments, the obvious moments, even when Campaign hooked De'Aaron Fox, tripping him up. The trip was even obvious. And then later on, even after Mike Brown was ejected from this one, Dame Lillard got De'Aaron Fox on his forearm, which allowed a 3-point shot to just ultimately go out of bounds, be an air ball. And then even earlier on, Brook Lopez had his forearm on Malik Monk going up to the basket and one arm up. The refs called a foul. The Bucks challenged the play, and then they overturned the play. So it ended up being a successful challenge. Like, why can't I think of that word?
It was Bucks ball because Connaughton had possession of it.
Yes.
And that was a swing play for sure. And you're right. The rule book shows this is verticality.
This is deemed a foul.
That's a foul when you've got the forearm extended.
Thank you. So there was those moments that I'm saying where that were too obvious.
I love that from Mike Brown. I thought Mike Brown had a great night. And hopefully this can be a turning point from the Kings. Ultimately, you lost the game. It sucks. The Kings are now 23-16. And the way they've been playing in some of these losses has been infuriating for the fans for sure. I felt like tonight was more like the Kings of old again, but the end of the game is going to sit with you. The good news for the Sacramento Kings is they have another game coming up. End of a road trip. They take on the Phoenix Suns coming up on Tuesday before coming back home against the Pacers. So it's going to be really interesting stuff. Let us know what you thought about the game. Let us know what you thought about the finish, what you thought about what Mike Brown had to say after the game. Drop the comments below. No, we go live after every single Kings game, including coming up on Tuesday when the Kings take on the Suns.